question is, when is a child ready for a mainstream classroom? And should that be a parent's goal? Well, first and foremost, each student has their own IEP with their own goals and their own baseline data. So two kids are the same. So it's important to remember that. But regarding mainstream, we always need to remember the least restrictive environment, which means as special educators, we always have to consider, can these students benefit from a general education classroom with some accommodations? So if your child uses American Sign Language and is reading at grade level and is ready to explore maybe an English class or a humanities class in the general education classroom utilizing an interpreter, then definitely that could be an opportunity for your student or your child to be able to access the mainstream classrooms. Sometimes the pace of mainstream for grade level is just too fast for our kiddos. And so it's not about rigor as much as it is about access. So we always want to make sure that our kids are set up for success. That's why it's very important to have a teacher of the deaf as a teacher of record for your child that can kind of guide you. But if you're absolutely feeling like a student is being successful and is ready for some mainstream exposure in the general education class to learn from a general education teacher with maybe accommodations such as a sign language interpreter or a listening device for if they're using auditory skills to access their education, then that absolutely can happen. But we never want to take a student that is struggling with some foundations of academic skills and throw them into a grade level where they're really going to struggle fitting in. So we have to be super careful, and data and assessment is what helps guide the team make those decisions. Of course, we want students to have an opportunity to interact with their general education peers, and that does happen throughout the school day based at recess, some of their specials, either PE or music. We always want them to have an opportunity to be around some of their typical peers. But if a student is struggling academically, we certainly want to consider the assessment data and where they're functioning in the classroom before we put them in a mainstream setting. But the last part of that question is, should this be a parent's goal? That depends on the parent and that depends on the child. I always say that the sky is the limit for students. And so when we set the bar high, our kiddos meet that. So I would just encourage you as parents to always be included in the process. Ask questions. Ask where your students' levels are. We have lots of opportunities to collect data with testing, appropriate testing, that really gives us an idea of where students are functioning. So always collaborate with your classroom teachers and always feel free to ask those questions, to be prepared to have those conversations through parent-teacher conferences, parent communication logs, or through the IEP process.